everyone, it's a Saturday, and once again, it's your host, Sword Sage. Yeah, I know I haven't been here for a while. I haven't been here in quite a while. There's a reason. Those of you who followed my channel understand some of the trials and tribulations that I had gone through, but thankfully they've stabilized enough so that I can finally get back to doing my job, well, one of my jobs anyway, and that's making videos on this channel. And I basically came back just in time because now I am going to be answering Kizzume's 3 questions, which I thought were rather interesting. The first was on what was my favorite type of humor. The second was what's my least favorite type. And the third was basically on the qualifications of the presidency. Basically, should a president have political experience, or would it be better if he was surrounded by the right type of people? Well, let's go with the first 2 questions since they're obviously easier, somewhat. What is my favorite type of humor? It actually took me a little while to think about this because, I thought I had the answer right away, and then the more I thought about it, the more I realized that it was sort of more than one. And I had to narrow it down to 2 types. Basically, black humor, and by black humor I mean like sort of morbid humor, humor that kind of, finds, the amusing in the morbid. And there's a cross between that and what I like to call dry humor, dry witty humor. Those are my 2 favorite types. Now, this is not to say that I don't happen to like things like slapstick or, more goofy humor. I really do like those. In fact, if I had to, I guess, put, stuff like, say, Monty Python type stuff, I really, really enjoy that type of humor. And in fact, maybe I should put that as, my favorite. That sort of stuff where it can be silly and crazy, but smart and sometimes bleak at the same time. There is some black humor into Monty Python's work. Those of you watching will probably know what I'm talking about. So yeah, I would definitely go into that category, but I tend to like black humor because it tends to be sometimes a little bit of biting social commentary in it at times. And especially the witty, dry humor type stuff, I also really enjoy. I really like it when dialogue can get me to crack up. Not necessarily just physical stuff, but something that's said and the way it's said, and it's done in a very, witty sort of way that tends, that tends to be the type of stuff that really gets me to laugh. And I also think it's, kind of difficult to present humor in that way and actually make it funny enough so that you're actually, shaking with laughter. So, yeah, there's that. Now, as for my least favorite type, some people might think that I'm going to go with slapstick. No, I like slapstick. Slapsticks are funny. Slapstick kind of falls into the, Schadenfreude, and I'm sorry, but that sort of stuff makes me laugh. No, the humor that I don't like, I don't really have a term for it personally, and maybe somebody watching this might actually know the term or, come up with a smarter way of discussing it. But it's what I like to call jackass humor. The sort of stuff that just, revolves around just stupidity and people making complete asses of themselves. I just don't like that stuff. I'm sorry, but I don't. I can see why other people would. And especially, when someone's making a fool of themselves and it ends up, they end up getting into a major accident, like falling over a fence or something, or doing something incredibly stupid that gets them lit on fire. I can see the appeal, but it just doesn't really appeal to me in particular. That's just not my thing at all. I don't really find it funny. And again, I can see why others would, but I don't. Now, a good runner-up to that, I guess, is what people would call, call offensive humor. And I say it's somewhat of a runner-up, but you got to be careful with that because that can kind of delve into subjective territory. Like, what's offensive to one person isn't necessarily going to be offensive to another. So I'm generally going to have to say, basically humor that is, and again, this is hard to describe, but I was about to say, that's at the, humor at the expense of someone, I find a problem with that. But the problem is a lot of humor is at the expense of someone. So it's, I guess, if it's humor that really is designed to just belittle a group of people that are already being belittled or let's just put the word out there, oppressed for no reason other than for really stupid, ignorant reasons, then yeah, I don't really find humor in that. But the reason why I didn't put that at number one on my list is, one, that's when you start dealing with a lot of gray areas and, you know, subjectiveness and things like that. And the other problem is a lot of it really isn't funny anyway. It's just insulting. I'm sorry, but it's not. I mean, whatever. I don't. This is not a video on humor. It's a video on answering questions, and I answered those questions. So, those are those two. As for the third one, okay. See, the problem I find with this is that this is definitely, you know, both particular qualifications, like, you know, whether a president has political experience, knows how to operate in the political sphere, understands how government works, how politics work. That's extremely important. They need to know how the nuts and bolts basically work, especially, you know, when you start dealing with the more complex aspects of governance. But having the right group of people around you and also having the right sort of temperament also is important. I don't really think that you can kind of, like, you know, which is more important, either having the skills or having the right temperament and the right group of people around you. I mean, I guess if you had to put a gun to my head and I was forced to have to pick one or the other, I guess the second. Simply because if you're around the right group of people who, by right group of people, I personally am taking it to mean, you know, people who aren't just power hungry, trying to snatch up what they can for themselves, using you, like, you know, as a figurehead. They know you're a puppet, they know you're weak, so they're going to, like, get you to do stuff that isn't necessarily going to help you or the people, but it's mostly going to help them and their constituents. You know, like, people who, you know, they got the best interest of the country and you at heart, and also know how the system works. If you got people like that around you, you know, let's say you're president, and you got people like that around you, as well as, you know, they know how things work, and you yourself have the right temperament, you know, and the right, you know, personality to lead, then that ultimately will pan out. Because even if you don't necessarily know how the rules work, they will tell you how things work, and they'll be able to, no, you shouldn't do this, or no, this isn't how our country works. This is not how a law gets passed. They will tell you, and you will learn as you go. Will it still be kind of rough? Yeah, but if you got the right people guiding you, hopefully things will smooth out after like a year or so. I would hope. But it isn't to say that the first thing isn't important. Like, knowing how shit works really can solve a whole lot of problems right off the bat. You know, especially if I'm, okay. Now, if you're intelligent at the very least, and you got the right temperament, you know, not knowing the rules can be a problem, but you can figure it out. But if you don't know the rules at all, and then to make matters worse, you definitely don't have the intelligence or the temperament to get it right, then that can cause problems right off the bat. It does help. Sooner or later, you are going to need to learn the rules. You are going to need to know how the process works. You are going to need to understand how politics work in order to deal with it. I mean, if you have to work against it, sure, but you need to know how it works first before you start trying to go against it. So I guess I'm leaning toward the second aspect, only because to me the right group of people are those who are going to let you in on how things work and how you can work with it or properly work against it if need be. So that's my answer. Looking forward to the next round robin, and looking forward to finally making videos of the Breakfast Club again. So take care, guys. Have a good one.